So welcome to anyone who's listening via the recording. We will need a blanket and a block, or 2 blocks if you have them is even better. You can put your squeaky toys aside. You need your squeaky toys. If you are a person who finds a belt handy, I don't have anything special planned for the belt, but if you know that you use the belt regularly, it's a good thing to have ready as well. And we will start, as we often do, with pranayama on our backs, starting with some breath work. So please find a comfortable position on the floor. And it can be with your legs all the way out, relaxed, or you can bend your knees and flatten your sacrum on the floor. Especially if your lower back is touchy, you can add a blanket under your head if you find that your neck likes that. And even knock those knees in towards each other to broaden the back of your pelvis if you find that the most comfortable position. See if you can roll your shoulders open and have your palms facing up. Allow your eyes to close. Allow your eyes to close and your attention to come into your body. And start by observing your breath. Just connect to your breath. And I'd like to ask you right at the beginning of class here, if you find yourself using this breath work during the week, it's helpful if you are standing in line or waiting in the car. Anytime you're waiting, it's a good time to tune into your breath and begin just by observing it. And then as you're ready, begin a long, even ratio breath so that you have a long, deep breath starting in your belly, rising up, opening the sides of your ribs all the way up into the top of your lungs, up by the clavicles and the shoulders. Then releasing the same amount of time, inhale and exhale on the same long count. This is the long yoga breath. When people say, take a deep breath and count to 10, those frustrating situations, those situations where you just don't know how to react or what to do, it's a wonderful time to reach for this deep, even ratio breath. It's what they train the Navy SEALs with. When they want the Navy SEALs to remain calm in a crisis, they learn a long breath like this. And the exhale can be in those really tough situations, or when you really are having a hard time releasing, you can make your exhale even longer than the inhale. Feel your belly rise and feel the connection of the back of your body to the floor, the integration of breath and body and mind begins the orientation we need for class, where we're working to bridge the body, the mind, the spirit, bring them together using these asanas or poses. And all this in the ancient wisdom was to prepare for meditation. So if you are a meditator, after class is an ideal time to take one of your meditations. Now, as you're laying on the floor and feeling this breath, think of the summer. Think of the richness and the life all around you, the deep, warm, bright life of summer. And let that fill your body. Rejoice in the summer being here despite everything that's going on. The summer has come again. And I have a short reading here. It's from a woman named Glennon Doyle. Keep going. That's all you have to do ever. You really don't have to be amazing or fierce or beautiful or successful or good. Just keep going. Please. Slowly is fine. Crawling is fine. No feeling is final, except hope. Continue for 4 more long rounds of the breath with your own pace. And I will join you on the floor here. At the end of your 4th complete breath, or when you're ready here, let's have everyone take their legs so that the knees are bent, pointing up to the ceiling, feet about hip width apart, flat on the floor. And with your breath, begin to feel a slight exaggeration as you inhale, an exaggeration of the lumbar curve as the belly rises. And as you exhale, feel that curve flatten to the floor with a slight tilt of your pelvis. So the breath is beginning to move the body with a pelvic tilt. The belly rises, the lumbar curve rises, and then the belly flattens to the floor. Belly rises, the back arches off the floor, shoulders flat on the floor, and with the exhale, the belly pushes towards the floor, abdominals compress, and we empty all the way out. Very full breath, all the way to the top of the lungs, stretching your lung capacity if you can with a sip of air at the top. And exhaling every little bit out. And at the bottom of the exhale, you can blow out like you're blowing out a birthday candle. Making sure that you have a fresh start to fill with that warm summertime energy. Let's do 3 more full breaths with the pelvic tilt. And the last breath, bring with the exhale, bring the knees in towards the chest and rock gently along the back of your hips. You can, with this motion, check out what's happening with those hips. What's going on there? How does that feel? And also, take your knees apart from each other. And with the knees apart, move your thighs up and down and back and forth and see what's going on in those hip joints and check out that area between the legs, those long corded muscles and tendons that connect your knees into your pubic area. You can take your knees into your hands and begin to draw a circular motion with the knees, massaging the back of your pelvis and the rim of the sacrum. We're moving around the edge of the sacrum. Sacrum can be pretty hard to find depending on your anatomy. If you have a lot of muscle or flesh there, you may not feel it as much. If you're a skinny person, you can probably find those rims easily. But the motion works no matter what your build is or what your musculature. It's the same thing. Take the motion in both directions. And begin to make those circles smaller. Then place the feet back on the floor. Now let's do the same work across the back of the shoulders and the upper back, just feeling how this area feels as we massage it against the floor. So take your arms and cross your arms. You can reach towards your shoulders and then rock back and forth across the shoulder area. Your elbows can lead you, your head can follow, or you can stay looking at the ceiling, depending on how your neck and your head are feeling today. But feel what's going on along the top of your back and the shoulder area. And give it a little warm up, a little contact with the floor here. I like to come up into a tuck position, a little bit of a crunch. And if you want to try this, you might like to support your head with your hands and do the same motion, just a little bit higher or lower down on my back it is actually. So it's the muscles just under where a woman's bra strap would be, just under the shoulder blades, the top middle of your back. That's a place that can be hard to reach and hard to kind of connect with. So for me, this is very helpful. For some people, this is too hard on your abs. And if you find this too difficult, please just skip this part. You can do it laying on the floor like we were. And then begin to make this motion smaller and everyone come back to the floor. I'm moving, I don't have any blanket under my head. For some people, that a little bit under the head is a real necessity. So if that's true for you, keep that blanket there. If you can do without it, this is a nice time to release your head to the floor. And heel toe your feet wider, so your feet come towards the edges of the mat. And allow the right leg to fall in to the center while the left knee is still pointing at the ceiling. Take a breath and feel what happens when you do that. Someone was just mentioning the IT bands. That is a beginning of an IT stretch. You may feel it there. And then the same thing on the other side, the left leg falling in. Now take your arms and grab your elbows with your hands to make a square shape or rectangular shape. Keeping the shoulders on the floor, we're going to move the elbows back and forth in counter motion to the knees. So if you let your knee fall into the right, the elbows are going to open to the left and vice versa. Now you can do this windshield wiper motion with one knee at a time, or if it's comfortable for you, you can take both knees over to the side. You can experiment with that and decide which variation is correct for you today. With the elbows and the moving across your body in the other direction. This gives your body a little bit of a cross stretch and a stretch across the back of the shoulder, the IT bands, the hips warming up. If you like, you can allow your head to move with your arms or in counter motion to your arms, moving with your knees. Or you can leave your head just looking straight up, whichever works for you today. But feel the stretch across your shoulders. This can move with your breath so that as you inhale, everything moves to the side. And as you exhale and flatten your belly back to the ground, your knees and elbows come up to neutral. Back and forth a couple of more times. And the next time you come to the right with your knees, allow yourself to stay in this position. It could be just one knee or both knees, and feel this position. Take a breath here, full breath. And inhale and take your knees over to the opposite side and stay in this position and use a full breath, 2 full breaths here. Then with an exhale, come back to neutral and take a breath just in between motions, just consolidating what just happened. See if you feel any warmth coming up. We're going to come to Baddha Konasana, which is soles of the feet together and knees falling open. If this is a very difficult position for you, you can use your hands to support your legs a wee bit. If you find this really uncomfortable, the hands can be a big help. You can also, if you want to take the time, you could place your blocks under knees if this is a problem. If it's not a problem, just let the legs fall open, and you can even, if it's not a painful position for you, take your hands on your thighs and gently press down with your thighs pressing up against your hands and release. Press down and release. This is the beginning of class, so you may find this, you don't have as much opening as you do later in the day or later in class, and that's just because we're not warmed up. So one more time, pressing down and release, and take a breath. Now I'm going to offer you an odd little twist. It's possible in this position to press your feet together and then pushing down into your feet, the knife edges of your feet on the floor, lift your pelvis a little bit. Now, many people, this is not accessible. Many people, you'll do that and you go, no, that doesn't work. I can't do that. And that's perfectly fine. What I'd like you to do is do that same motion of pressing into your feet and then release. Press into your feet and either lift if you have a lift or not, and then release. So you're pressing the feet down, and there may be enough strength there to lift up, or imagine you lift up, or lift a millimeter and put your hips down. Whatever there is, just pay attention to it and accept that that's just where you are today, and it's absolutely perfect. One more time, press down and lift, and then release it long. Now, if this is bothering you, if the Baddha Konasana has become too much, take your hands on the outside of your thighs and lift your knees back to a straight up position. If you're happy with Baddha Konasana, you can stay in Baddha Konasana. We'll do a little bit of lifting through here. So let's support our necks by knitting our hands together, the fingers together, and taking them back at the occipital ridge of your head there, so you're cradling your head, and with the knees either straight up to the sky or still in Baddha Konasana. Let's do 10 little crunches, and if 10 is too many for you, do the correct number. I'm going to do 2, 3, 4. You stop whenever you're ready. 5. Pressing the belly down. 6, 7. Exhale up. 8. Inhale down. 9. 10. All right. Now, everyone, if you're still in Baddha Konasana, use your hands on the outside to let your thighs come forward. Take a breath, maybe a little pelvic tilt there to see what happened, what you lit up with those motions. Now, feet flat on the floor, pressing the feet down. Feet are hip width apart, knees are straight up, not falling out, but straight up. We're going to press into the floor and begin a gentle flowing bridge. And I'll add the neck release to that. So with this gentle flowing bridge, we're going to press up just as high as is right for you at this point in class. Take your hands overhead. The back of the hands are coming towards the floor. If your shoulders are very open, you might touch the floor. For a lot of people, that is just reaching towards the floor, just depending on the openness of your shoulders. And with the inhale, you lift and lift the arms Exhale, roll down and take the arms down. And for the neck release, what we'll do is just take the right arm up with the inhale. And as you exhale down, you're going to roll your head to the left away from that working arm. So the next time you'll lift the left arm with the inhale and the head is looking up. Then as you exhale and roll down through the spine, your head will relax to the right, away from the working arm. This is a little bit of a brain work. We're moving more than one body part at a time, and they're doing different things. So if you get confused, that's not a problem. Just keep going. If you get confused and you say, yes, that is a problem, just leave out the arms. Just take the head to either side as you roll back and forth. That is a little bit of a lateral neck release. Just seeing where your range of motion is as you turn your head from the right to left today. Let's do one more each side. And roll down. Now come up one more time. This time, bend your elbows to a 90-degree. Press the back of your arms into the floor and press through your feet, knees reaching away. Come up to whatever is the apex of your bridge at this point in your practice, as high as feels comfortable. And perhaps you'll begin to feel a little bit of a stretch along the front of your lifter muscles, the adductor muscles. No, those aren't the abductors. Those are, I'll get it later, no worries. Along the front there, you know the ones I mean. And psoas is involved in there too. So press into your arms and hold this for a breath. Let's make it 2 breaths. If you need to or want to come down more quickly, that's just fine. Feel the strength of the back of your legs lighting up and pushing into the floor. And when you come down, lift your heels and roll down, feeling as much as possible the articulation of each vertebrae in the back till you get to the bottom. And let's take our hands against the thighs. Belly is engaged, pressing down, and push into those thighs, stretching your back really long as your thighs push back into your hands. And let that go. Limp. Take a moment and be limp and soft. Bring in 2 full breaths. Let's roll over to the right and take that top hand, press yourself up. We'll come to a hands and knees position. I always like to pad my knees, even though I have a rug and 2 blankets. Some people will be fine with a blanket and with a rug and a yoga pad. Depending on, it all depends on your needs, but the blankets are available and it's a nice way to take care of yourself. So find this new orientation. We've changed position. We're in hands and knees. And let's start with, let's start just with the cat-cow in this position. We did a little bit of pelvic tilt. The cat-cow is the same motion, but with an exaggeration. So with the exhale, we come up to the hissing Halloween cat, arching both through the shoulders and the hips. And with the inhale, the belly opens up big and the heart reaches forward through the shoulders, back of the neck stays long, into the old gray, the old cow with the sagging back in the floor, in the field. So those are the images of the cat-cow. It's basically a flexion of the spine, forward and back, using your breath. And if you are happy to exaggerate this motion even more, you can begin to take come all the way back towards your heels and child's pose, and all the way forward with your inhale towards a half plank. So it becomes quite a long flow. With the exhale, the bum comes towards the heels, and with the inhale, you flatten into a straight line and come towards plank. But adjust this for your body today. As much flexion as feels good, as much as you can enjoy and feel the flow and the flexibility of your spine. It may be a lot of flexibility, or it may be a little bit, but see if you can make this flow exactly right for yourself so that it feels lovely. It feels like a dance or a prayer. 3 more times. It can be big, it can be small. You can have been doing it big and decide it's time to do it small. If you're done, just rest in child's pose. Let's come towards a stable position. So begin to make your motions very small and find a nice hands and knees position here. I'm going to take a moment, if your block isn't handy, take a moment and find your block and bring it to the front of your mat, because you might want it in a moment, and I want to get you ready. We're going to do a little side work, and if you are feeling your hands are tired or your wrists are tired, make sure that you've got your weight forward on your hands. Sometimes we tend to let our weight fall back into the back of our palms, and it's hard on the wrist. That's one thing that makes us tired, the wrist sore. So sometimes that's all that's needed. Sometimes there's more needed. If your wrists are bothering you, you can always try rolling up the front of your mat and placing the back of your wrists on that roll. That's a nice relief for some people. So if that's a problem, there are some adjustments, and I'll give you some more as we go along here. What we're going to do is take the right foot to the back and take a moment to take that stretch long and give some attention to the back of the calf and the Achilles tendon pushing through the heel. Nice full breath, feeling that stretch, a place that always gets tight and we forget to stretch during the day. Then roll that working foot so that the sole of the foot is on the ground. You can take the kneeling leg and move the leg out a little bit away from your mat at an angle to create a kind of a kickstand, like a kickstand on a bike, because we're coming to put our weight on this left hand. Now, if your wrist is really bothering you here, go ahead and go to a fist rather than a flat palm. That's another saving move for the wrist if the wrist is getting to you. So press into the wrist or press into the palm of the wrist and let this arm, the other arm, rise. And you'll find yourself in this open position with your chest and your torso perpendicular to the floor, parallel to the walls, and feel the strength of the balance here. You're balancing, you've got your back foot is pressing into the ground, the hand is pressing into the ground, and this is the beginning of a side angle. And if you would like to try a little bit of an adjustment with the arm, you can take the arm to the over ear position and get even more stretch through that back foot all the way along the side of the body. Really reach away with the foot and the arm and feel that stretch, and send your breath into that long, long line from the toes to the fingers. Some of you know where we're going from here. There's the option of trying to lift that back foot, experiment with it as a balance. And you might feel really strong today and be able to bring it up towards a 90-degree angle. You don't want to go beyond there. And if you're here, the same thing as if you have your foot on the floor. You're reaching out through the foot and through the hand. Long stretch. And everybody release the foot to the ground, release the hand to the ground. And you might take a moment with your hands and knees to wiggle. We're going to come down into Lounge Lizard. For Lounge Lizard, you're going to orient yourself a little bit differently. You'll take your hips, the side of your hip to the floor. And the legs are going to come out long behind you. Like imagine you're standing on the wall that's that away towards the end of your feet. And this is what we're coming into is a stretch for the fascia on this side of the body. And let's start with our elbow bent and just relax into this stretch with the elbow on the floor. You may not feel much of anything. You may feel a lot. Keep these legs alive, pressing into the feet with they're flexed as if you're standing on them. They're straight, and you can use this hand for your balance. If you really feel not much of anything, you can take your block and let yourself come onto the block and then find your balance. Fortunately, if you roll one way or the other, the floor is very, very close. We're right on the floor. And just breathe into this position and allow this whole side of your body to sag with gravity and fall into the ground. Lounge Lizard, interesting, isn't it? If the balance is becoming hard for you, you can take this leg and bend it and use this for a little bit more balance. Or you can keep it stretched. This is a little bit of ab work actually, because when you're on your side like this, you balance with your abdominal muscles. And breathe and just let it relax. It's a no work pose. We're just letting gravity do it for us. And to come out, you bend both knees and switch on to a seated position. And then you can just move over to the other side. This is how I'm going to do it. You can actually roll over. But we're going to start on hands and knees again, doing the same sequence we did on the first side. So come to hands and knees. And whatever adjustments you want to make for your wrists, please take care of yourself. Let's start this time with the left leg pushing back to stretch the back of the left leg. Really enjoy that release of that muscle. If you've been doing a lot of biking or walking, you may find this really helpful. And then we're going to roll that foot so that we're placing the sole of the foot on the ground. Rotate the other leg out to help find a strong balanced position. The right hand is on the ground for me, because it's the opposite of what I did last time. And I'm taking the left arm up into the beginning of side angle. There are two ways to bring the arm overhead. You can come from the side this way, or you can sweep through the front. And shoulder joints can vary a lot depending on how they were made originally and what you've done with them for the last 50 years. So you can experiment with those two motions and see which is more appropriate for you. And if you're here, when you're here, look for that long, long stretch. Feel the knife edge on the outside of the back foot and the line of energy that goes all the way from that foot through the tips of your fingers on the other hand. And the last variation is the lift of the foot off the floor and a balance. This is very similar to half moon pose. pose, which is done standing. The bottom leg would be, rather than kneeling, it would be straight. And that's a lovely pose. And it's lovely because of this opening. I hope you can feel it, the opening through the front of your body as the body rotates so that it's perpendicular to the floor. Your torso is perpendicular to the floor. No, that's not right. How can I explain that? You're in line with the wall. Your torso is lined up with the wall. Deep breath and release that one. And we will come down with the hips onto the ground. Can be on your blanket if your blanket is there, and get ready for lounge lizard on the other side. It's possible to do this with a straight arm too. If you were getting very little and you feel like you have more more room, you can do that. I recommend starting with the elbow or the elbow on a block and relaxing, letting this fall with the gravity, letting gravity work the fascia. The fascia are the sheaths that surround our muscle tissue and are integrated into the muscle tissue. And fascia is a fairly modern concept. When I was a young biology student and we came to the fascia as you were dissecting, they'd say, oh, that's not important, just take that off and put it to the side. It doesn't count. But it does. Science keeps improving. And the fascia, it's kind of a modern buzzword in massage and body work now. But it's a real thing, and it lets the muscle fibers slide and move easily. So when you release that, they can get sticky, it can get stuck together. So in doing this, we're encouraging the fascia to open and glide to their full length along this side of the body. Then we'll swing the legs around to the front. And I recommend everybody have a blanket now. We're going to come to Dandasana, which is staff pose. And I like to take my blanket and just sit my hips up on the very edge of it and stretch my legs out in front. It helps me find a position where my back is straight. This is what we're looking for. If you have very tight hamstrings, you might fold your blanket up another time or add another blanket to allow yourself to come towards, you want to come towards a right angle. Pardon me, the grass is still blooming. If you find that you cannot have, it's quite possible that you may not be comfortable in a right angle, in which case take your hands behind you and let it be a little wider angle. The angle is between your legs and your torso. And perhaps you're a little farther back, I'll show you from the side. So you could be straight up or you could be a little further back, wherever you begin to feel a big stretch along the back of your legs. And while we're here, take your feet and draw some circles. Draw some circles. Draw some circles with your ankles. Let those move around both directions. Then come back with your feet, your toes are pointing up. I see that I have moved out of range of my toes. Now I can see my toes are pointing up and I'm sitting up nice and tall. This is what is the position we begin our forward bend in. I'm not warm enough to do a full forward bend, and I don't imagine you are either. So we'll start from here today. Just take a full breath and feel it. See if you can relax your shoulders down your back, even if you're using them for support. Really flex those heels out. Press the legs into the floor, activating all the muscles in the legs. As you pull up on these hamstrings, you're moving and strengthening those muscles around the knees. Let's lift the right leg just a couple of inches off the floor and release it. Lift the left leg and release it. Both sides again. Right leg lifts, pulling the hamstring strong. Now push that one in the floor and lift the other one. All right. Then take a moment and release. Release. You might want to take a little cross motion across those big quads. I was saying hamstrings when I meant quads. We were pulling the quads up. So some of you anatomy people may be very confused. Pardon. Now we're going to come into the straddle position where you take your legs apart and push out through the heels. You may realize, some of you who have taken class with me a lot, that I rarely, if ever, do this position. And it's because I personally really dislike it. It's like when you grew up and you never had artichokes at your house because your mom hated artichokes. And you had to learn that later. We tend to avoid things we don't like. This is a normal human reaction, which is sometimes very good. Sometimes that's a normal protective reaction, and sometimes it's avoidance of something that would be good with it for us. And yoga, it can be either. So you really need to be true to yourself and your needs. If it's a position you dislike because you're tight, right in here or someplace else, perhaps you can work it. And if it's a position that's just not right for your body and it's painful, that's the one to avoid. It's an interesting exercise in self-examination. So all you have to do here is sit up straight. Now, there may be one of you out there who is very open in this position. If so, you can take your hands in front of you and allow your trunk to come forward. Most of us are not, many of us are not going there. Reach out through the heels. Keep the knees pointing up to the sky. This actually gives you more room to open your thighs than rolling your feet back. So knees point up to the sky. Lift up tall and take a breath. One more time and release. Then you can use your hands to bend those knees and bring them in. And again, let's give ourselves a little bit of release. One more release. Let's take our knees into Baddha Konasana from the seated position. Use your blanket to support you. And take a moment to give your hands and your wrists some love. Interlock the hands, and with the wrists, draw a figure 8 or infinity symbol. And take it in both directions. Don't think about it when you reverse it. Just let it happen. Let's do one more release for those hands, just the flopping release, let it go. Then take the right hand out, bend the fingers towards the ground, reach around back and take that thumb, pull that thumb down and back. Take a full breath here. Keep those other fingers working wide, down and back. A lot of people doing gardening, it's hard on the hands. Let's do the same thing with the other hand. Bend it back so that fingers are pointing down towards the ground. Reach around and grab the thumb. Pull the thumb out and back gently, gently. No pain. And the fingers themselves open down and back. And release that. All right, you can use your hands to bring the knees together, and let's meet in a standing position. Let's start with mountain. Standing nice and tall. Come to the front of your mat and bring your blocks with you. So you have 2 blocks or 2 substitute blocks, that's excellent. If you have 1 block, that's fine, bring it forward. But find yourself in this standing position, a different orientation again to gravity. Take some breaths. You can add a shoulder shrug, nice rolling through the shoulders. Adjust this a little bit so you can maybe see my head. Rolling through the shoulders, letting the shoulders flow down the back. You can use a breath and a sigh. When you've got your shoulders loose on your spine, let them relax on your back, your shoulder, the heads of your shoulders open as your hands rotate palms to the front of the room and release your arms weighty and heavy. The legs are strong, the knees just relaxed. The weight, the ankles and the hips are in line, and then the shoulders come into line with the hips. And last, check to see where your head is, so that you want the back edge, as if your head was a square, you're reaching the back top edge towards the back top edge of the room. The chin is parallel to the floor and the ears are coming back towards the shoulders. 3 breaths in, mountain. Now let's add the arms, full breath in, lift up towards the sunshine and gather it. Just store it in your heart for when you need it. 3 times. The warmth and life of summer. Once more. And this time let's bend forward. If you are not doing forward bends because of high blood pressure or glaucoma, stay with a flat back. And if you have low back trouble, you may also be more comfortable working with a flat back, pushing the thighs away from you, the head with a long neck forward. Otherwise, you may enjoy relaxing forward even more. You can bend your knees as much as you want. Even if you're doing the flat back, you can bend your knees. Bend your knees, and you can release the arms to the floor. Use the block if you like, or release them to the floor. Or take the ragdoll position with the hands in the crook of the elbows. Let that weight traction your back long as your torso drapes over your thighs. And then you can straighten the legs as much as feels good to find that big stretch through the back of the legs. And then everyone, engage the abs as you come up. You can roll up. Reach once more towards the sky. And bring the hands through to your heart. Now let's take the hands forward to the block. And this time we're going to take the left leg slightly forward and step the right leg back to a runner's lunge. And you may take your blanket back to the floor, so as you bring your knee to the floor, you have that padding. Or you can roll the edge of your mat over if that's more convenient. Then experiment with climbing your hands onto your thigh and finding your balance with your knee and your foot into this runner's lunge. First of all, let's take the hands up straight. If you find your shoulders rising up by your ears, see if you can relax them back, and you may want to open the arms a little wider to make that happen. Now bring your weight a little forward and feel the stretch along this front of your top back leg. Reach your back of your head and your arms behind you, forming a slight crescent with the body here. A little bit of a crescent moon shape. Tiny back bend, but lifting through the chest and the shoulders to come back. The lumbar curve and the bottom of your pelvis stays nice and strong. Then relax the hands down to the front of your blocks. We're going to come through here to a twist. So first of all, let's let's let the weight come forward again. And for this twist, you're going to take your right hand onto the block. You may want to lower the block one step and take your left hand onto your thigh, then allow your left hand to open. So you're twisting towards that front thigh. I'm actually twisting away from you, but I hope you can see. And you might want to take your hand that's up and put the L of this hand into the place where your thigh bends and push that back so you're lining your thighs up rather than letting the front leg come way forward, keeping your hips in line with each other. And then take that open. Full breath with the twist. And then release, comes back. From here, let's come with the weight onto the back knee. You can use your blocks here, move them around as you need to, and straighten that front leg. So you can start upright with the front knee straight. The front leg is straight. The heel is flexed. Weight is on the back knee. Have enough padding so that knee is comfortable. Then we're going to release the front of the body towards this front leg. So it's a forward half bend. It's like a half forward fold. And we're looking for a big stretch along the hamstring muscle here. See if you can keep that back nice and long and flat. What I like to do is with the in-breath, breathe, think about lengthening my back, getting the shoulder blades on my back and down. And with the out-breath, exhale, pull in my belly and reach forward for the stretch. Inhale, long. Exhale, belly. And if you know Mula Bandha, you can contract Mula Bandha too, which is the pelvic floor. Feel that nice release. Breathe into whatever sensation of release and opening you have. And with an in-breath and the belly strong, come up. And we'll step to the front of the mat again. So push into that front foot, bring the back knee up to match it, and come to the front of your mat into mountain pose. Big breath. And with your hands on your hips, take a moment to take some hip circles in both directions. Nobody's watching. You can do this as freely and as openly as you want. It was pointed out that when the class is recorded, I am the only one recorded. You are not, nobody's going to see it on YouTube. So feel free to shake it out if you want to. And then come all the way back to mountain. Arms come up once. And down through the center. And we're going to do the same series, but with the other foot back. So you're going to step your left foot back if you were with me on the first side. And then lower that knee to come into crescent lunge on the other side. And first, climb your hands onto your thighs and find your balance. Often helps with balance that sensation of pulling the knee, the legs together, as if you could take the front foot and the knee, pull them towards each other and wrinkle up your mat, which you can't do, but that isometric pull of the legs towards each other is strengthening and really helps with the balance. And then the arms can lift towards the crescent lunge position. They're reaching back behind you with the shoulder blades relaxed on the back. The face is relaxed. The breath should be long and even. If you can't find your long, even breath here, come up a little bit. Make it easier. Find a position where you are able to breathe and work comfortably. Now relax the hands to the blocks and allow your weight to fall forward so you find that stretch. Keep the pelvic, the upper back lifted. You want to have the hips in line with each other. So it's what I was talking about on the other side. So your hips are in line, and you can check that. Pull this back a little bit with your thumb in there. And feel that stretch. Send your breath into the sensation. Let's do that same twist. You may again want to lower the block if you're using the blocks here to give yourself a little more room to open. Hand on the thigh and then all the way up. And you can even come to the floor if you have enough room. Feel the twist. And this is where it's really important to keep this thigh working back. Reach those hands way up. Feel the energy in the top hand and the back foot. Front foot is still pressing hard into the floor. And bring the hand down. Press into your blocks again. We'll come towards half Hanuman. So the front leg straightens. Find your balance on that back knee. And this may be plenty of stretch right here. This may be a great stretch. If you find that you have more room to give or you need a little bit more, allow your chest to come forward. The breath work is to stretch the back long wherever you are. Back long and flat. Inhale, the exhale. Feel the belly compress and the front relax towards the leg. The torso relax towards the leg. Then in-breath brings you up. Bend that front leg and press into it as you come back to standing. And we're going to walk towards the front of the mat. Come up to mountain pose. Feel your feet wide and flat on the floor. Find your balance. Lift your toes. Lift the toes and spread them. Then relax those toes onto the floor. 3 breaths using the arms all the way up. Everybody nice and warm? Okay, I am actually going to step to the opposite end of the mat. You do not have to do this. You may if you wish. The reason, no, let's see. Let me think about this for a moment. So if we come here, yeah, okay. Coming to the other end of the mat. And that was totally optional. You listening to my voice, don't be confused by that. We're going to step from mountain pose into warrior 1. And I'm taking my blanket away to keep it out of the way. We won't be coming to our knees right now. So step back, take that left foot back in this case. I'm wrong with that. Take your right foot back. You take your right foot back here. Right foot back. The front foot is parallel to the long edge of the mat. And the right and the toes of that back foot, the right foot, are turning towards that. The angle just depends on your hips. And that's going to be a wide difference between a lot of different people because our hips are very individual. Then check and see if you can lengthen this back of your pelvis by pulling the belly in. You may even relax the back leg, have a very slight bend in the back leg. Then bend the front leg deliberately as deep as you can without taking the knee beyond the front toes. So there's a little bit of a stretch through this back leg, through the heel and the front, right along the lifters and the psoas. The arms rise all the way up to the sky. 2 breaths in warrior one. Feet pressing into the floor, legs pulling towards each other. Well, let's take the hands and interlock the fingers. First, just press them forward. Turn the hands inside out and press them away from you. Then take them overhead and back behind your head to support the back of your head. See if you can find that place where the skull connects to your neck and the spine. And cradle that area and lift it. Lift it up and back if you can. Give yourself a little stretch and lift there. The elbows work back. The belly is very strong. Back of the pelvis is long, but the shoulders and the top of your chest are lifted and back. Full breath here. Then take the hands away from the neck, lift them up and open them wide to the sides. Now twist towards the front leg. Open, twist. It can be a very small twist because you may feel quite a pull in the back hip joint there. So adjust your twist. Adjust your twist so that you're finding that stretch, but it feels appropriate. It's not painful or stressful. It's an opening. And send your breath into that sensation. Then lift the arms up and take them back to your hips and step forward. Full breath and a wiggle through the hips again. This time you might try a figure 8 instead of a circle. Now step the left leg back into warrior one position. Align the feet. There is a space, the width of your hips, probably about 6 to 8 inches, running like a river in a path between your feet. Bend those front knees. Again, the back of the pelvis is long. You may need to have a little relaxation in the back leg. And take your hands all the way up into the warrior one position. Belly is working, feet are pressing into the ground. Going to interlace the hands the opposite way. So go the way that you normally do it, and then put the other finger in the front or on the top. Take the hands out in front of you and stretch the fingers that way. Take an in-breath and lift them up overhead. And then find that sweet release by pressing your head into the cupped hands and lifting it back and up to get a gentle back bend here. This is warrior one with brain cradle. What we're talking about with the hands, they call it brain cradle. Then the arms come up, release the fingers, open wide, and we'll take them in the same gentle twist. Now this is really be gentle here. It's a surprisingly big stretch. So don't feel like you have to do a huge windmill. Just feel your body, feel what's going on. Find that edge and gently explore it. Use your breath into whatever sensations you feel. Release the hands to the hips and step forward. Again, gentle work with the hips. Let's step to the center, face forward on your mat. That was really good work there. That was very strengthening, a lot of strength and balance. I imagine you're feeling some warmth. I hope so. Place the feet apart and the toes come out. This is not a huge stance. This is a medium wide stance. Maybe 3 feet for a tall person, less for many of us. And take a moment to orient yourself to this position and begin to punch your way down into a horse stance. You can take your hands on your thighs and press into your thighs and push away, push those knees back. It's important to have your knees in line with your feet so that your knees aren't dropping forward. You're not stressing your knees here. Your knees are working back in line with the feet. And you might need to turn your toes more forward if that's not possible. If you can't get your knees back, adjust the toes. And take a moment to allow your weight to find some depth here. Allow your weight to sink down and lift up and sink down. Just move in and out of the depth of your pose using your belly. Use your belly to allow yourself to come down and up. No pain, just find the edge and say hello to it. And find a nice stable position you can hold for a moment. Allow the right shoulder to fall forward, keeping the arms straight so that your body is rotating. And then take it to the other side. Now rise up, bring the arms out into star position. Feel the energy flowing into you and out of you. We're going to rotate the feet so that the left foot is parallel to the mat and the right foot turns in. This time our feet are on a balance beam. So the heel of your front foot is in line with either the arch or the heel, depending on how your hips are working today. It's a little less stressful to have the line up heel to heel than heel to arch. And with this strength of this pose, Warrior Two, you bend your front knee. The arms rise, the hips stay oriented to the front of the mat, so it's an open position. Arms rise and reach out, and the head looks over the front hand. 2 breaths to begin with. Then take this right arm forward and pull your bow back. We're doing archer. Pull the bow all the way back and release it. And pull the bow all the way back and release it. One more time. All the way back and release it. Now, let's see if we can, no, we're not going to do that. Never mind. Hands to hips. Straighten. Take those toes forward and you should be back in a parallel, your feet are parallel position with a open, and your legs are open. Let's do a forward bend from here. So you might want to grab your block and come down. We'll start coming forward from the hip joint with a flat back. And this is the position for those who do not want to invert today. We have issues with pressures or inversions. So you can work back and forth here. You can heel toe your feet wider. If you have a little more to give, you may want to relax your chest forward, keeping those hip bones working back and seeing what's in this forward straddle fold. Relax your head down. And you can have your arms long out in front of you, or you can walk your hands towards in line with your feet. Just taking care of yourself finding what's the right stretch for you today, what feels good and correct, making sure your belly is engaged, protecting your lower back. Breathe into that sensation of opening. Send your breath there. Allow yourself to visualize your breath pouring into that sensation. Now let's come everybody back to the flat back. Heel toe your feet together. And with a strong belly, rise all the way to standing. This time we're going to take the right toes out so that the foot is parallel to the mat. Turn the left ones in. Again, the feet are lined up in this position, either heel to heel or heel to arch. Front of the body is in line with the long side of the mat. Knees working back, strong openness through the thighs and the groin. Bend that front knee and the arms rise up. Stretch away, shoulders back. We begin with the archer to pull the bow back and release it. Pull the bow back and release it. And pull the bow back and release. Hands to hips, feet come forward. This time we're going to come to a little bit of a side-to-side motion. So have you take your block here, bend the right knee, and allow the left toes to reach up, stretching the inside up high on those legs, really stretching out, and then back to a straight, strong position. I want to take your block over a little bit as you bend your left knee. Go as slowly as you like through here. I'm taking about 2 breaths on each side. You can take 4 breaths on each side. You can take 8 breaths on each side. You can take 1 breath on each side. Just reaching back and forth gently. You're not here to hurt yourself. You're here to open these places that tend to want to freeze up on us. All through the back of the leg here. Back all the way up the inside from the heel to the groin. Even in this work, make sure that you're keeping your knees lined up so that your knees are pushing out and you're not falling in to stress themselves. Let's finish with that one. Heel toe the feet together. Hands onto the hips and rise. Let's come to a balanced position. So make sure you have a wall, a fireplace, a counter, a chair, something you can use to help you with your balance. First, let's just take a moment and stretch out the front of our quads. So this is a place where you might want to strap, because we're going to reach back and find the pants, the ankle, and if the ankle or the foot is out of reach, you can loop a strap around that foot, and that's a great way to bring that foot back if it's not convenient. So take that foot and reach the top thigh back in parallel to the standing leg. And when you get there, if your stretches, if you still have more room, you can pull that heel towards your bum. And while you're here, really feel your long, deep breath. You've been very active, so find that breath again. Make sure you've got that breath. Now release the foot. And let's come to a nice tree. Feel the breeze through our limbs and the beautiful wind off the water. So let your right leg take the weight like a tree trunk. Your left leg is loose and free. Bend the left leg and it can perch down by your ankle to begin the tree pose, or it can come up towards the knee, or it can come up above the knee and tuck in high up. Wherever it is, press the foot and the leg together. Look for a focal point in front of you and find what balance you have today. Balance is always coming and going. It's the nature of the beast. So you may be wobbly or you may be nice and steady today. Whichever you are, doing the work improves the balance. And if you have the space and the will to take the arms up, feel the breeze around your limbs, that's wonderful. And keep breathing. Arms come back through prayer position with control and release. Turn to the other side. And start again with a stretch along the front top of the other leg. So bringing the leg parallel to the standing leg or towards parallel. You may not come all the way parallel, that's okay. You're reaching towards parallel. And then if you have space, even more space, you tuck the heel in. And really use your breath here. Feel a long, full breath. And see what's going on with the balance on the other side. Often they're very radically different from side to side. The kickstand position is a great position if this is the right place for you today, or up towards the knee. Just do not press your foot right into your knee. We want to avoid that. And press the foot and the leg together. That helps find the balance. Looking for a drishti or a focal point helps the balance. I always find that prayer position hands very stabilizing. Some people find hands on the hips most stabilizing. But if you have your balance and you want to grow branches, please do. You can always have a cactus tree as well. Whatever feels good. Yogi choice. Nice. Now stretch that back knee away from you. So it's opening the top knee away from you. And release the hands and bring them down with control and step down. We're coming towards the floor now, so you can take your time to do that. I have managed to make the day go away again. So we're coming straight from our balance into Shavasana. So get yourself ready. When you come to your back, do whatever you need. Pick a pose. You might want to do happy baby or the circles with your knees to help release your pelvis. You may feel like you need a side-to-side twist. You might like to do figure four, which is the one where you bend your knee and pull those knees towards you. Pick one of those three. Come onto your back and give yourself one pose. So I'll quickly show them in case there's someone who doesn't remember or not thinking of them right now. For happy baby, you grab your ankles or your pants or maybe the outside of your feet and pull those legs down towards the floor, knees towards the floor as your feet press into your hands, and release the back of the pelvis that way. Or you can release the back of the pelvis by taking your knees in your hands and drawing gentle circles. So those may be what you need, or you might need to take the knees over to the side for a little bit of a twist. That is sometimes what people need at the end of class. Or you might need to place one leg over the other and bring them gently towards you to feel the stretch along the outside of the back foot there. And if we don't have time to spend a whole lot of time on these, so remember you can come back to them on your own anytime you need to. Then set yourself up for a nice Shavasana. We'll have time for a medium long one. So whatever you need to do, a blanket under your head, a rolled blanket under your knees. If you are in a cool room, you might want to put your top back on or place a blanket over you. If you are more comfortable with your knees bent and tented towards each other, you can always do your Shavasana in this position. If you have a chair or a bolster and you want to place your feet up on that, that's a lovely Shavasana as well. Get yourself to a beautiful, comfortable place to enjoy a nice medium long Shavasana. And while you're here in this Shavasana, as you begin to release, pay some attention again to the breath. How does it feel now? How does the back of your body lying on the floor feel now? You can release control of the breath. Just observe it for a moment. And let the part of your body that touches the floor become very soft and release and spread and relax into the floor. Deeply, deeply relaxing. Become aware of your breath again. Let it deepen and move your body in whatever way allows you to reorient towards your room and the world around you. You might want to wiggle your head or your hands and feet to swallow, rub your fingers together, to rub your hands together. Breathe deeply. When you're ready, roll over to your right side and take a full breath on your right side before you come up with care to join me in a seat for just a few breaths. Keep going. That's all you have to do. You really don't have to be amazing or fierce or beautiful or successful or good. Just keep going, please. Slowly is fine. Crawling is fine. No feeling is final except hope. Thank you so much for being here for yourselves, for taking care of yourselves. I look forward to seeing you again here and in real life. Namaste. I'm going to stop the recording and take us back to chat. So if you have any feedback you'd like to give me, that would be great.